Okay, I just want to make sure, Brian and David, can you hear us?
I can hear great.
I can hear great too. Thank you.
All right, great. With that, we're going to begin the meeting for Wednesday, April 27th. Welcome to all of you here in the audience and those of you online. I'm going to ask management, has the meeting been properly noticed?
It has.
And can you verify a quorum?
You have a quorum.
It appears we have all 7 members of the board here. 5 of us are in the room. Brian and David are attending remotely, so we have the full group. With that, if you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call this meeting to order. Let me explain the procedure that we're following for those of you that haven't been at meetings the last couple of times. We're going to have a couple of opportunities for owner comments tonight. This first session of owner comments is for anything that's on the action item part of the agenda. So anything that you see that's an action item, numbers 1 with a lot of sub numbers up through number 14. If you want to speak to any of those items, this will be your opportunity. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. We're going to ask you to come close, but the cameras and the microphones will pick you up from there. If you want to speak about one of the discussion items, you'll see those on the agenda as well. But for those of you that don't know, the discussion items will include updates for ongoing projects, the briefing on Lot D, briefing on the lawn sports croquet court bids, the ARC inspection plan. If you're speaking on any of those items, we're going to ask you to wait until we reach that item. The board will have their discussion, and then we will invite your comments in that context. So that's what we're talking about. And if you have something you want to bring to the board's attention that's not anywhere on the agenda, this first section will be where you get that opportunity as well. I want to encourage you to share your comments with us. We have a form here that will give me the order, I hope. Do we have some where people signed in?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that my daughter wants to speak, but it's best time for her to speak is on the discussion points, but that's getting late in the evening for her.
Let's see how we do, okay?
Is it possible that
we might be able to do this?
Okay.
I know there's been some question about having youngsters, younger than me, that would be almost anyone, speak. You are, strictly speaking, we don't have to do that, but we want to do that. I think it's a good teaching experience. Glad to do that. That 3 minutes takes up the owner's 3 minutes, however, so just to be aware of that. All right, so having said that, I now have a list here, and I'm going to go down the list in the order in which you signed in. So if you're ready to speak on a action item or something that's not on the agenda, we're going to invite you to speak. So the first name I've got is Patty Phillips.
I just have a question.
I'm going to need you to stand up.
Sorry.
And I'm going to need you to come forward a little bit. Sorry, this is how, so the people in Zoom land can hear
I
us.
want to speak about the Croquet issue, but I don't want to speak about the bidding process. It's a different,
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to wait till we get to the discussion.
that's fine.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, you make a note of that. Then I have Patty Match.
I'm also speaking on croquet, so I will wait.
Okay, great. Next is Joe Growney.
Okay,
Come on up, Joe.
okay.
Oh, croquet. All right, fine. Next is Keith Thompson.
Well, it's primarily led.
Wait, Keith.
It's primarily.
All the way up, all the way up. Tell us who you are.
Keith Thompson, 1201 Celebration Avenue. Primarily later, but I would like to know whether these appointments to the committees, whether it's for the communication or the town centre, whether they're going to be announced as to who they are tonight, because I know that's an action item.
Great.
But other than that, I'll wait.
All right. I only wish I could talk like Keith.
Yeah, I just want to add some clarity for the benefit of the guests tonight. The microphones are this side, so if you're going to be picked up on the microphones, you got to be closer, and that's why Jackson keeps calling everybody down.
Okay, thank you. And to answer your question, Mr. Thompson, We are not going to announce names tonight. We will select, and the names will be announced via an email blast tomorrow morning to the entire community. That way we have the opportunity to inform people that they've been selected and also to respond to those that nominated and applied and were not selected. So as a courtesy to them, that's how we're going to do it. All right, next is Charles Richards.
Croquet, please, thank you.
Okay, great. Next is Dave Phillips.
Okay.
Okay, and you get, Dave and Patty Phillips get 1 3-minute section, just to be clear, okay? All right, next is Joseph Linehan.
Joseph Linehan, 1258 Celebration Avenue. Board of Directors, representatives of management, fellow members of the community, good evening. Just a few weeks ago, the CROA Board of Directors held their annual organizational meeting. It was exciting to really hear about the enthusiasm of every board member here about embracing open communication, community engagement, and model behavior for representatives and volunteers. Now, with hopeful consensus, these operating principles were based on an outline that is written by Mr. Anderson. Mr. Mummy, you then charged the board with presenting a professional model. Mr. Hayes, you wanted the board to show our integrity and be committed to the standard. Ms. McFadden, you were candid in calling out respect and commenting that if you cross a line, if you send threatening messages, those volunteers should be removed. Mr. Kinsel had the quote of the night, directly stating that we must stop the bullying. Earlier in that program, Mr. Kinsel emphatically stated the board members will live and die together, and reminded everyone that when you speak for the board. On Tuesday, March 22nd, 2002 at 5:30, Mr. Brian Kinsel, acting as the appointed representative of the CROA Board of Directors, attended the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting at Town Hall. During that meeting, Mr. Kinsel proceeded to use offensive, abusive, and insulting language toward a fellow resident of Celebration. Mr. Kinsel, in front of management and community witnesses, then proceeded to call into question the intelligence and capability of the current and past board members of that committee. Again, all volunteers and residents. Continuing to act in a provocative and bullying manner, Mr. Kinsel went on to explain why his insults were justified. These events and comments can be confirmed and verified on the official recordings. Mr. Mummy, you recently spoke about legacy. This is your board's legacy. This double standard, this do as I say, not as I do, this perception. Remember, you, the board, live together and die together. You have all officially condoned this behavior. After affirming so many times about stopping the bullies online and in the town, how do you reconcile with the bully among you? To my fellow neighbors tonight and audience, be engaged, continue to be heard, be involved, be insufferable. It is our responsibility to hold this board to its actions, and I would only hope the board will hold itself to its own words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linehan. Your comments are noted. They are obviously concerning. We're aware of what happened, and we will deal with it, and we will be back in touch with you.
Thank you.
Next on the list, I have Heather Hayes.
I intend to yield my time to my daughter, who would like to speak about lawn sports.
Is it acceptable to the board to let her speak since we don't want her past her bedtime?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
What about my bedtime?
Well, there's that. All right.
You're on your own.
All right, young Miss Hayes, come on up here. We're going to ask you to stand and tell everybody who you are, but you need to come closer to me. I promise I don't bite.
Right there at the end of the table.
And we want you to turn around and look at the board because we're they're the most important people, but you should talk to us anyway.
Sorry, we don't have a podium because I broke it.
All right, go ahead.
Hello, residents of Celebration. My name is Wendy Hayes. I'm 10 and I live in Roseville Corner. I personally enjoy playing croquet with my mom and friends. I feel like having a dedicated space means setting up would be less of a hassle, well, therefore we could play more. Another upside is no one can trip or get hurt on the wickets. We also wouldn't run the risk of rolling the ball into the street. If there was a dedicated space, it also wouldn't leave hole marks where the wickets were. We have lots of empty space, yet barely anywhere dedicated to one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
What Wendy said was that she'd like to play lawn sports. She'd like it to be a safe place and that there are spaces where that could be done, and she hopes that we could do that. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And we are very proud of you for having the courage to come up and talk in front of all these adults, some of whom sometimes don't show our best behavior, but tonight we're going to be on best behavior for you. And we are really pleased that you wanted to find out about that. And part of what governing is about is making decisions that are good for an entire community. So we appreciate your input, as we appreciate the input of everyone who is here tonight. So thank you for that.
Just like to make one comment,
Okay, go ahead.
just because of the optics, right? I had nothing to do with this. I'm very proud of my daughter, obviously. I didn't take part in any of the wording. I basically recused myself from that work that happened. And I didn't know what they were going to say until they said it, actually.
And I know you're very proud.
I am very proud.
Okay, thank you. Next on the list of speakers, am I missing anyone? I think I've got Mr. Tagdiri.
Yes.
I'm not pronouncing that right. I need you to come up here.
Yeah.
No, you got to come all the way up here.
Okay.
Oh, croquet. All right, sorry. Okay and croquet. Sound a lot alike to me. All right. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak? No?
I don't see any hands.
All right, hearing none, then we're going to move on. Thank you all for your comments. We will get to those of you that wanted to speak on lawn sports when we get to that part of the evening's agenda. At this point, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So
Second.
Who made the motion?
So moved.
All right, Jim, and the second?
The timing was just about.
Yeah, we're still working on the timing.
I know, we're newbies. Any discussion of the agenda? Any changes to be made to the agenda? I think we wanted to pull one item, didn't we?
I would request to pull the dog park lights from the agenda.
Which item number is that?
That is action item. Oh, looks like it's already been pulled.
I think that's been pulled. Didn't you want to pull the playground equipment?
Oh,
number
yes, the
5?
Long Meadow playground equipment.
Long Meadow or Spring Park or both?
Long Meadow.
Long Meadow for motion number 4, action item number 4.
Yes.
Sure that's the one you want to
And
pull?
I would not be offended by pulling 5 as well.
You'd like to pull 5 as well. All right, fine, we'll pull. Any discussion of that? Anyone? And you want to explain why we're going to pull them?
Yeah, I'm curious.
We got a last minute additional bid from another vendor that was significantly better and supplying the materials that we wanted as the base. So we wanted to give the board a chance to review that bid as well before a decision's made, just to be fiscally responsible.
All right, any other modifications, Cindy?
I would like to pull item 1B and 1J and 1K from the consent agenda and move it down to with the others.
B, J, and K.
Correct.
All right, we'll move those to action items. We will take them right after the consent agenda.
Okay.
All right? Any other changes to the agenda? And again, for those of you who are in the audience, what we're doing, we have a consent agenda that's fairly lengthy, that the board has been reviewing the package, looked at the data and information. So while it'll look like we're going very quickly, it's because we've done our homework. We're ready to make those decisions. Any board member has the right to pull an item from the consent agenda and to place it into the regular body of work that we do. And so that's what's occurring here. So that is a board member's right without exception. Any other changes to be made? All right,
What were the changes that Lauren wanted to make? Did Lauren pull 4 and 5?
I did. For the additional bid that we just received.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, those in favor of approving the modified agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We are now to the approval of minutes from April 13th, 2022 CROA board meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Bill makes the motion, Celia seconds. Any discussion? And again, for our audience, we have reviewed the minutes before we came to the meeting. We've discussed them, made the changes that we need to make. All right. Hearing no other discussion, those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. 7-0 approval of the minutes. Next is financials. Who's handling the financials tonight? Is it Brian or Ariel or who are we doing?
Ariel,
Yes, thank you. The transition has been completed for the financial perspective, and we'll be able to provide going forward monthly financials as we were based on the contract. The CROA cash position is strong as of March 30.
Ariel, can I stop you for a minute? Can you put the microphone closer? I just can't hear you.
The CROA cash position is strong as of March 31st, 2022. We have operating cash of 1.8 million, a replacement refund reserve fund of 2.5 million. These funds, as a reminder to the board, are restricted to fixing amenities, which we expect these funds to decline over this year for several projects that we have underway. And we have capital improvement funds of 2.3 million, that these could be used for new projects or amenity expansion.
And what was the amount of the capital fund again?
Capital improvement fund is 2.3 million.
All right, just to summarize then, we have 1.8 million in our cash reserve fund, 2.5 in our replacement reserve fund, and 2.3 million in the capital fund.
Correct.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, thank you very much. With that, I want to go to the next item on the agenda, which is the president's overview. We're going to ask for a slide deck there so you guys can see it. What I want to do is overview for you what's going to happen tonight and where we're going. And we are recording this, right? Yeah. Oh, good. We said to management that job number one for this year is to go fast and fix stuff. We are trying to take care of years of neglect and disarray that have happened to make our community as good as we can. Go ahead. That will take primarily place in 3 areas: maintenance, repairs, and landscaping. They are not good, and we need to make them better, and we know that, and so you're going to see us taking very aggressive action. Go ahead. When you told us that the community didn't look good, we heard you. When you told us that repairs weren't being done, we heard you. When you told us that maintenance wasn't being done, we heard you. When you told us landscaping wasn't being done, we heard you. When you told us inspections weren't being done, never yours, but your neighbors, we heard you. Go ahead. So tonight, I'm going to say what I will say at every meeting and apologize for that, but we're not here to be right, we're here to get it right. Some of you are going to say, well, you're doing it wrong, you're not doing what you should be doing. We understand that. We'll keep working to get better. We'll keep working to be better and not to be defensive, but to get it right, because getting it right is good for the entire community. Go ahead. So what we're going to do tonight will be 3 things. Go ahead. We're going to approve funding. I'm going to show you those amounts in just a minute. They are big numbers, and there's a reason for them. When we approve the funding, we're then going to authorize vendors. We've got some of those vendors here in the audience tonight. These are big, big contracts that we're talking about. And then most importantly, we're going to get work done. Some of you have already seen the work going up around the community, the new sod being put down, the trees that are being worked on, the repairs and maintenance and landscaping that's being done. If ARC and covenants would let us put up signs that say CROA, your CROA dollars at work, we'd do it. But somehow those guys in covenants say no. Nonetheless, the work will get done. Our last meeting, what are you guys doing? Come back. Thank you. There we go. Thank you. At the last board meeting, we approved 23 action items. Stop screwing with my screen. in maintenance and landscaping. We also approved the purchase of 2 NEVs and the hiring of 3 full-time inspectors. All of those things have begun, and we now have the NEVs in place. There's a pretty red one and a pretty blue one. There are 3 inspectors. We are ready. You will hear later tonight an inspection plan that's very aggressive. Our new community standards manager, Lorraine Valdez, is here with us tonight. And I hope you'll be nice to her, because later she'll have to be nice to you. And so we took that action at our last board meeting. Go ahead. Tonight, continuing that very aggressive stance, we are going to be looking at roughly $261,000 in maintenance projects that need to be done, and that's because they haven't been done for so long. We will also be authorizing a brand new landscaping contract, changing our vendor, and approving a contract between 2 vendors for a yearly amount of $900,000. And some of you will be saying, wow, that's a huge number, and it is. And part of the reason it's so large is because the work wasn't done before, and we have to get the work done. And so we're going to discuss that and hopefully approve it. We had on the agenda, until Lauren pulled it, go back. Don't be doing that to me. We had $189,000 in playgrounds. We will get to the playgrounds. We have 2 of them. We're going to work on them, but we want to do it in a cost-effective way. So my total, which was obviously now incorrect, thank you so much, was $1,350,000. That's a lot of spending. So where does the money come from now, Patrick? Maintenance and repair, it comes from CROA replacement reserves. You heard Ariel say that we have in replacement reserves $2.5 million as of March 31st. This is money that we've set aside to repair and replace things over time. Because we did not spend a lot of that over the last few years between COVID and management questions, we have a fair amount in that budget, but we have to spend it. It does us no good sitting in the bank. It must be used to make the improvements that we want to make. Go ahead. Contracts will come out of operating expenses. And that fund, as you heard, has $1.8 million in cash as of right now. Now, this contract that we're going to look at tonight will actually be a 3-year contract, but we're giving you an annualized amount. We believe that this is what it takes to do the job the right way. But we're going to hold these vendors' feet to the fire, Brian, Jacob, and we are going to expect you to do the work the way you're capable of doing it. And if not, we're going to replace you. Just say. $175,000 increase over what we spent before, because what we learned was when you buy cheap, you get cheap. And so we went with the lowest bidder and we didn't get the best result. So I think we're going to do a better job here. So that's coming out of operating expenses. And then go ahead, Patrick. If we discuss and go forward on any new amenities, and we've talked about Celebration Hall as a possibility, those monies come from capital funds. They do not come from your homeowner's dues. They come from money that's accrued through transfer fees and rental recreation fees. And right now, that fund has $2.3 million in it now as of March 31st, 2022. So 3 different buckets, money is coming from different places. I hope that makes some sense to everybody. Go ahead. So what we're doing, go ahead, are what we call the touch points to correcting years of neglect. It starts with an awareness through service, through you contacting us via email, through the call center, and through inspections. Go ahead, sorry. And management reviews what the problem is, what needs to be done. They research it, they get bids. Go ahead. Then in service areas, we consult with our executive committees. We do a budget analysis. And then the board reviews the management recommendations. It reviews the bids. We ask questions. You'll hear lots of good questions, I hope, tonight. And then we reach approval on the consent agenda or as an action item. So that's what's happening tonight. You're going to see us go through a big group of action items, a big consent agenda, but the point is we need to get to work. Okay, having said that, thank you all for your indulgence. I hope that helps explain the process a little bit further. We now have the consent agenda in front of us. This is items A, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, L, M, N, O, P. See, I know my alphabet. Q, R, S, T. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with those items in it.
I'll make that motion. We'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And again, so that you understand, this is not because we just looked at it 5 minutes ago. We've been working on this and we are confident these are all items to work on. Now, we said we would take the consent agenda items that were pulled and we will deal with those now. So the first of those was item 1B, a motion to approve new electrical circuits installation at the sports complex by Michael's Lighting and Electric in the amount of $2,049 from CROA Replacement Reserve Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
Which one was this?
This is 1B. Is there a motion to approve? Brian, is there a second?
Second.
Cindy, you
Second
want to
from
pull?
David. Second from David, if you haven't had one.
I had to look twice when I saw this item here, and for those of you who may not be able to see the screen, it has to do with approving new electrical circuits at the sports complex to the tune of $2,000, so we can put in a washer and dryer. Apparently, when we have events where cloth tablecloths are used, obviously they need to be washed. So I guess the thought behind this is that someone from staff could then be washing them.
Excuse me 1 second. I just got to tell you, everything you're saying is being picked up on the microphones, and so everyone out there can hear you. So,
That's okay.
okay, go ahead.
First of all, and trust me, I'm not being nasty when I say this, but I don't think we're paying management company employees to be work at a laundromat, number one. Number two, I don't believe that this is a replacement reserve because I don't think we've ever had a washer and dryer before, correct? This is going to come out of operating funds. Brian, am I correct? We're not replacing anything.
If it's new, you're right.
Okay, so it's not replacement, it's operating funds. And again, forgive me, I'm going to refer back to when I was here. And we had a service that would wash and iron these tablecloths whenever they were used. But that was discontinued, and I won't go into any details on that. But so in my mind, I'm thinking, so we're going to pay somebody to wash these tablecloths, and then to stand there. Yes, I believe that's what it says. Somebody to iron them, and nobody irons anymore. I went and I checked with our friends at the Artisan Club, and it costs for a banquet size table. It costs $1.95 to have a linen service, bring that back and forth, launder it, and return it. So if we had an event where there were 50 long tables, it would cost us $97.50.
All right. Could I ask then that we send this back to management to review and see what the alternatives might be and table it for this point?
Absolutely.
But just to be clear, this is for the electrical work, not for the washer.
Well, but then comes the washer and dryer.
I understand.
Yeah.
Are there any other reasons that we're upgrading it?
Are there?
I wasn't part of this. I wasn't part of crafting this motion, so I can't really speak to additional uses. I'm assuming there would be additional uses for the electric out there, but I'm fine with tabling it. It's not an urgent need.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of tabling this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is tabled. Let's go to item J, the motion to approve replacement of the pool furniture at Spring Park Pool by Suncoast Furniture in the amount of $30,224.91 from CROA Replacement Reserves. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second with discussion.
All right. Cindy, again, you pulled it. What would you like
I'd
to?
like to discuss this,
Oh,
please.
all right.
This
Celia,
is
go
a
ahead.
joint, this one is a joint. on
This
her
is a
end.
All
joint.
right, go ahead.
Well, actually, it's in regards to 1K and 1J. I
Okay.
guess I'll have to go backwards or forwards. I don't know.
No, just go ahead. You can talk about both.
Okay,
That's fine.
so I'm going to talk about both of them.
All right.
Lakeside Pool Furniture. I utilize that pool. I go to that pool. That furniture was put into place maybe the beginning of 2017. Take a year off for COVID when they were just stacked by management in the corner with yellow tape around it. That's a year not being used. If you go there now, there is some wear on the chairs at Lakeside. The tables, there's nothing wrong with the tables except that they need to be cleaned. I took a rag with water and soap and cleaned it, and they look like they're brand new. I'll wait until you guys are done to make sure you hear what I'm saying.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
All right, so if you go to Spring Park, their furniture was purchased a year after Lakeside. So why are and we just got the new umbrellas at Lakeside, which are blue. We paid $480 for those umbrellas last year. Kudos to management for getting new umbrellas at Spring Park at $199. I don't feel that we need new furniture at both pools right now.
Well, and just to add, Celia and I were both at Spring Park yesterday. We were there a couple days ago for some reason, and we went and looked at the furniture. And I believe it says in the write-up that it was torn and stuff. This is not the kind of stuff that can tear. So, which made me wonder, is this supposed to be Spring Lake and not Spring Park? I mean, that furniture is in perfect condition. There were several people in the pool. We said, how do you like the furniture? Fine, comfortable, love it, you know. So I don't know what I'm with Celia. I don't understand why we would be spending this money. But it does need to be cleaned.
The tables need to be cleaned. And if you can combine what's at Lake, since they're both the same, Spring Park and Lakeside have the same exact furniture. If you can take everything at Lakeside that is in excellent condition and move it over to Spring Park and maybe put new furniture at Lakeside, that's fine. But I think it's a waste of money right now to buy new furniture for furniture that there's nothing wrong with.
I'd like to get a further justification and information from management on this before we go forward. So again, I'd entertain a motion to table these two items pending management's feedback.
Make that motion.
All right.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, those in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 7-0. Thank you. All right, we are now, I think all the items that you wanted pulled, Cindy.
Yes,
All right,
thank
we are
you.
now to action item number 2 on the agenda, which is a motion to terminate the December 18th, 2017 services agreement with Yellowstone Landscape effective May 28th, 2022. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Lauren, you want to kick us off here?
After discussion between our operations manager and our new community manager and evaluating the services provided by Yellowstone, we have made the recommendation to the board that we terminate our agreement with them based on our not meeting our contractual obligations.
Reality, and for those of you in the audience, I don't think I have to tell you, you can see the deterioration of our community. This company is responsible for a large part of the work that is to be done. They have had great opportunities to move on to other clients, and frankly, they probably have neglected us in that process. And so I'm excited about what comes next, but in order to move on, we have to end this contract. And so the board needs to ratify that decision. Any other comments from board members?
One comment this is Brian Kinsel, I'd like to make just to give people a little clarity here. They used to have a management team that came regularly to our board meetings, and that they got another major contract with a major player in Central Florida. So they took all the management team and a lot of people there because it was a huge contract. So this is just an evolution of them being successful on getting a huge contract.
And we wish them well, but we wish them goodbye. Any other comment? All right. I'm going to call for a roll call vote here. Cindy?
Yes.
Celia?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes 7-0. All right, next is item number 3, a motion to grant the landscaping contract for properties previously maintained by Yellowstone Landscaping to New Leaf Landscaping and Exquisite Lawn Care in the amount of $575,000 annually to New Leaf and $375,000 annually to Exquisite. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motions, is there a second?
I'll second.
Celia seconds. Discussion.
I'll make a discussion. Is here.
Jacob couldn't make it.
Jacob couldn't make it? Okay. All right, just remember, I'm at all
Okay.
over the place in every part.
Okay. You cross Celia at your own risk. Just for the audience's sake, what we've done is that management met with New Leaf and Exquisite, who have both been working here in the community for many years, and many of you know Jacob and know Brian. We asked them to bid this job, and they did something very unusual for vendors in their business. They decided to collaborate. And in that collaboration, they decided that it would make the most amount of sense to split the work between the larger parks, primarily being New Leaf, and the pocket parks and neighborhood parks being essentially Exquisite. Now, that's not, I don't know if that's exact, but that's a rough breakout of it. We will hold them to a very tight standard. Management has assured us that they will inspect and review and follow up. And this contract is, we can terminate it on 30 days notice. Just saying. And both companies have assured us that they have the manpower and the equipment to do this work. They are ready to do the work. And this is work that we need to get done. So having said that, any other conversation or comments? Bill?
Just a quick question. If it's a 30-day contract to terminate, is that singly or are they both go at the same? I mean, if
Each contract will be signed independently, so we could replace one vendor with another.
Okay.
The contract is a yearly contract. It is a 3-year long-term contract so that there's some stability for the vendor. But I think it's important to understand that in Florida, we just retain that right to be able to cancel a contract for failure to serve. So that's where we are. Any other comments or questions? Brian?
This is David. I have a question.
Let me go with David, then I'll go to Brian.
Okay. Several years ago, we had monthly reviews of all the landscape areas by management. Will something, and similarly, when Exquisite took over Spring Lake, what was it, a year ago? We were doing very regular reviews and reporting. Will something similar like that be done for both of these vendors?
Yes, it's something that we're implementing for all vendors here in Celebration. We'll be doing checks, sheets, and punch lists on projects.
Good, and I think that'll be helpful. Just like the model that was very active with residents in Spring Lake, we may engage, some of these would be tied into service areas or some other, I mean, somehow to get resident involvement, just so that those standards go way up. Things have been looking poorly, and it's time for them to go up. And again, holding both of these vendors accountable, I think, will be important for our community.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, just so we have clarity here, in your presidential thing, you said 900,000. We had obviously budgeted out of operating expenses for Yellowstone and landscape type items. We're going to have an increase here of about $275,000 a year, which will present challenge to us as we go through the 2023 budget cycle. I just want that to be clear to everybody. But we live in an inflationary environment. Lauren and her team did talk to other vendors. This wasn't a one-off, just give us a price and we'll accept it. You did do other due diligence, so I want people to be aware of that too.
Yeah. All right. Other comments, questions? All right, we're going to take a roll call vote here. Brian?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes 7-0. You better do the work.
He will.
All right, I'm just saying.
Can I speak?
Sure. Although I would just take the win and go home, but go ahead. Come on.
I just like,
No, you gotta come up. That's how the deal works.
I just like to say thank you for giving us this opportunity on behalf of Exquisite and Newly. We're taking over at the worst possible time of year, right before the summer, right in the summer. So give us a little bit of time. I'm sure you're gonna see a lot of positive change.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, you get 20 minutes, buddy. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Next, pulled items 4 and 5 off the agenda. So the next item is number 6, motion to adopt the Academy Road Townhomes Service Area Committee resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
Make motion.
Celia makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jim seconds. Any discussion? What we're trying to do is we're creating service area executive committees. This is something still relatively new. We're excited about this. Academy Row has put together and petitioned for a service area executive committee, and we are excited to have that committee. Once we have this done, we will then seek members of that committee, and they should be ready to go sometime next month. So, any other discussion or comments? Favor say aye.
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 Passes 7-0. Next item is number 7, a motion to approve the Spring Lake Fitness Center hours to be open 24 hours a day, because who doesn't want to work out at 4 a.m.? Is there a motion to approve? Really? Motion to approve. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I'm still struggling with why I want to work exercise at 4 a.m.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Celia.
it's gonna be open 24 hours a day. What happens in the middle of the night when something goes wrong?
Lauren?
Essentially the same thing that happens now. They call 911. We're not responding to emergencies at the fitness center.
And why was the request made?
Yes.
This was made by Spring Lake residents to open it 24/7.
But why? I mean, I'm not being facetious.
I don't have the background as to why.
Well, and once again, I consulted our friends at Artisan, and their gym is open from 5 in the morning until 10 at night, which is like a pretty decent window. Having it open, things aren't like they used to be. I worry about vandalism, during that, but somebody could get inside and do something. I don't know. That bothers me.
That the reason why is people now work from home, work off hours, so they want to be able to use the gym during their off hours.
Do we have security cameras there?
Yes.
Any other conversation, discussion?
This is David. Do we have any input from any of from the service areas there?
I don't believe we have any Spring Lake residents here unless.
But the service area executive.
Yeah, service area is a subset of Spring Lake.
Oh, they're the ones.
So we don't have any real organized resident input other than a few individuals?
Correct.
So it wasn't the executive committee. I would like to request that management go back to the executive committee and ask for more input before we make a final decision. I'm seeing some heads nodding. Is there?
Yeah, no, I didn't understand the question. I was under the assumption it came from
Yeah, I don't think it did. I think it came from residents in the community, which would be great, but I'd like to hear from the executive committee since we've empowered that committee to help us with those things. So I would look for a motion to table pending discussion with the service area executive committee.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion. For tabling, say aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0 to table. Motion number 8, or action item number 8, is a motion to approve ratification of the Sienna mediation agreement with the Master Association and Association C. Could I get a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Let me just briefly say that what's happened with Sienna is that there is Sienna A, Sienna B, Sienna C, and the Master. We had moved towards a universal settlement last week. Was it only last week? And it looked like we were going to get there. And then at the last minute, Sienna A and B chose to find new counsel and to approach the litigation separately. We reached a settlement with Sienna Master and Sienna C. What we have in front of us is that mediation settlement agreement with the Master and C. We had hopes that A and B would be able to reach an agreement with C and the Master, which would have solved the landscaping and other problems. They were not able to do so as of the deadline that was given to them of the 12th. And so we now have a 30-day window in which we are waiting for the work that was to be done to be completed. If that work is done and it solves the problem in A and B, great. If it doesn't, we still have a problem with A and B. You'll recall, board members, at our last meeting, we authorized the filing of a lawsuit. That lawsuit will be filed on Friday, May 13th. I believe it's Friday the 13th. If the work has not been done, and therefore that's where we stand at this moment. But what we have is an agreement with Sienna C and the Master, and that will be most of the work in Sienna. So what we're doing tonight is approving the settlement agreement that was reached in mediation with those two entities. Are there any questions? Since this is legal, we're going to take a roll call vote. Cindy?
Yes.
Celia?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Jim?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Brian? I hear you, Brian, but
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion passes 7-0. We'll keep you informed as to what happens with A and B. All right. Now, at this point in the agenda, we have a couple of items which the public will not be able to see the detail on, but board members, you have it in your packages. Item number 9 is a motion to approve a recommended settlement offer on one property. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
What's going on here? We have a payoff, a settlement that's been proposed, and our attorneys, Arias Bossinger, have recommended that we approve this payoff. Is there any comment from management? You've recommended that we approve it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Doesn't look to me like we're losing any money. Is that correct? Am I looking at this correctly?
Yeah, functionally, I think that's correct.
Okay.
Call the vote.
Call the vote, is that what he said? Okay,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Item number 10, the motion to approve removal of fines for one property. Again, the board has an item here. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Conversations here. What we're doing is we're removing fines that were imposed on an owner. This was in a lien foreclosure matter. Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next is 3 resident fee waiver requests. Again, board members, you have that information in front of you. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 12 is a motion to initiate the finding process. Are we still at 18 properties? Or did that change?
15.
15 properties, sorry, 15 properties. You have it, board members, in a hard copy. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right. Again, for the community, what we're doing here is following the process that we have to initiate items for finding review that come to us from the committees, and that's what we're doing. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, I think we've got 7-0 in favor. All right. We're moving to the good stuff. All right, next. You get the slide deck ready for me, Patrick? The next item on the agenda, bear with me one moment here, I'll get this ready, is to deal with our advisory group, the appointments. All right. Am I correct? Is that where we are?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Yes. So I want to explain what we're doing with the advisory groups. You remember that at the last meeting, we talked about two different advisory groups, one for what we're calling Celebration Hall, one for what we're calling the Communications Advisory Groups. And we are moving forward in that discussion tonight and with the appointment of members and chairs to both groups. So go ahead. Why create an advisory group? First is time. We've only got 90 days on Celebration Hall to make an offer or to work out a settlement if we want to do something with the theater, and that's a good time frame for us to be working. We also want to bring in expertise. We have subject matter experts, but really we want expertise from a broad range of disciplines in both of these advisory groups. And last is input. We want to hear from the community, and we want to start that process through the advisory groups. The groups will be holding public meetings, they'll be holding town hall meetings, they will be soliciting input. The board doesn't have the time to do all of that and our other work, so we're going to rely on the advisory groups to help us with doing that. New advisory groups are going to exist for a 90-day period. They are not in perpetuity. They are not the dreaded T word. They are designed to provide input to us without becoming power stations of their own. There are two advisory groups that we're looking at. Go ahead. The first is for what we're calling the broad project of Celebration Hall. And the second is for communication. Go ahead. For the Celebration Hall advisory group, we received 29 either self-nominations or individuals that we requested as board members to go out and ask if they would be interested in that process. There are 8 spots available, so it was really an embarrassment of riches. We had an extraordinarily high number of talented people, and we are very appreciative for everyone that applied for that group. We couldn't select all of you. We will use your input. We will expect you to join us and be part of what we're doing, even if you're not in the advisory group. For communications, we had 15 nominees for 5 spots. Again, very talented, very capable individuals. The board discussed these nominations, and as has been our practice, we are not going to discuss names in public tonight. That would not be fair. The people that were here all deserve to be on these advisory groups. We're sorry we can't put you all in, but we worked through the process pretty clearly, and I think we've reached a consensus tonight. We'll explain that in a minute. Go ahead. The selection process, go ahead, was to invite candidates and to receive people's expression of interest. And then we reviewed the credentials. We received credentials from many people. Some people applied and didn't give us their credentials, maybe because they figured we all knew who they were. And then we selected 8 members for the Celebration Hall Advisory Group and 5 members for the Communications Advisory Group. That is the process that will happen tonight. Now, we appreciate everyone who applied, but this is only the first set of selections. As we move forward in all of these areas, we will be looking for subject matter experts to help us in future work. So if you were not selected, or maybe you just didn't get around to applying, or you didn't think this was the right time for you, that day will be coming, and we invite your participation. So we appreciate that. What happened is that the board will assign these 2 groups to start working on May 1st. They will study and answer specific questions. The board has put together what we're calling an Appendix A for the resolutions empowering both advisory groups. These are the specific questions that we want answered. We are not looking for the groups to go out and answer other questions, at least at this point. We're giving you plenty to do. I think you'll see that very quickly. You will then be asked as a group to report back to the board. You'll be asked to hold meetings. You'll be asked to solicit input from the community and ultimately come back to us. You have a 90-day charge. That's it. 90 days, Be off with you. You're gone. And we start all over again if we need to, but it's 90 days to get the work done. Now, remember, the Finance Committee and management will also be working on Celebration Hall, and they will be working in that same 90-day window. So it's a big commitment, and we appreciate it from everyone that's willing to do it. Go ahead.
That's not right.
Now, what we've got tonight, you're so bad. What we've got tonight is a motion first to approve the resolution for both. I think we've already approved the resolution for the communications group. I need a motion to approve for Celebration Hall Advisory Group. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
All those
if you
in-
don't have one. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Now we are to the point of appointing the members. Again, I want to point out, the board did not vote in advance, but we discussed these credentials so that tonight we could come to you with what I hate to use this word, we're going to use a slate.
Brian. Sorry, Jackson, what we just voted on, is that on the agenda?
It is part of the overall, but if you don't want to put it up.
No, I was looking for it. I can't find it on the
It
agenda.
is the resident, okay. Celebration Hall Resident Advisory Group appointments, which includes,
No, not the appointments, the charge.
okay. We kind of need the chart. The agenda to add that?
I think maybe we should, since we voted on it.
Okay,
Motion.
okay. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adding this item to the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, now, you want to take the vote again? Do we need to take? the vote?
I just wanted.
Good, okay, thanks, good.
Go ahead, go on.
I hate it when I get beat on parliamentary procedure. All right. Have what we call a slate, which means that the board has talked through and come up with a slate of 8 candidates. We're going to call it Slate A, just to make things go along smoother. So I would now, you have in front of you, board members, the names on Slate A, which we are not making public or making available to the public tonight. They will be announced tomorrow in an email blast so that we have the opportunity to inform and convince, is what I'm going to say, confirm that the members who have been selected do in fact wish to serve.
Beg if necessary, right?
Yeah. All right, so now with that, is there a motion to approve Slate A for the Celebration Hall Resident Advisory Group? I'll do that one first.
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries 7-0. Congratulations and condolences to the 8 of you. Next is the motion to approve the 5 members of the Communication Resident Advisory Group. Again, Slate A. Is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Just a clarification, Jackson, this is David. For each of these, the one we just approved and this one, this discussion also includes the identification of a chair.
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to say that. It does.
No,
We have
thank
identified a
you.
chair for each of these advisory groups, and the board is aware of that, and management will notify, and we will notify those individuals right away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the Communications Advisory Group? Those in favor of adopting Slate A, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you all very much. We appreciate everyone who applied. We appreciate all of you who will serve, and we look forward to serving with you. Just so you know, the liaisons to the Communication Resident Advisory Group are David Anderson and
Jim
Jim
Hayes.
Hayes. The liaisons to the Celebration Hall Advisory Group are Bill Grindle and me. And then the other board members are free to drop in and be part of that as available and without breaking quorum. All right. Now,
Jackson.
yes.
What we said we would do is we would have those meetings inside of a board meeting so that we wouldn't have a quorum issue and the board and the public could both attend.
Got it. Thank you very much for the clarification. Anything else? All right, now we come to the discussion portion of our agenda. I know many of you want to talk about lawn sports. What I'd like to do is move that up and have that discussion first so that then we can invite the comments. The way that we're going to do this is the board's going to discuss first. When we're done with our discussion, we will then invite you to come up and use your 3 minutes to speak to us about this particular item if you are so inclined. Okay? So, go ahead.
So on the lawn sports bids, we're still waiting on one bid to come back. I'm hoping to have it ready and prepared for the first meeting in May, but obviously that depends on vendors. So.
Okay. Brian, you want to talk about this? We can't hear you. God, this is great. We can't hear Brian.
I think you meant to say we
Okay,
can't.
here I am. So I'll be happy to talk. So just for clarity, what we said we were doing with lawn sports is we were focusing in on croquet. We were focusing in on croquet at Heritage Hall towards the back of the field there. We were looking at bids that would have 2 side-by-side courts at 100%, or for 3/4 courts. We're actually getting bids both ways. Lauren and her team have stepped it off. I believe you think it uses about 45% of the field, if I'm right. You actually have been out there when the Montessori school is using the front part. The part that we're talking about here is not even used by the Montessori. And I believe you also walked it with Nikki and looked at summer programs and stuff we have back there too. Did I say anything wrong, Lauren?
No, that's all correct.
I also have a video of it, Brian.
I'm sorry, what?
I also took a video of what we're using and what we're not using.
Right.
We're using less than half.
Okay. And then what we also said was we needed to get the bids so that we could look at the actual cost, the actual run rates and everything to understand the facts, because that's a detail we don't have versus what we have on lot D, for example, when we did the work there.
Any other comments from the board? All right, I know many of you wanted to speak. I'm going to take it in the order that I've got. If you still want to speak, come on up here. I've got Patty and Dave Phillips. You can share 3 minutes. Okay. Dave's really going to let you talk?
Yes.
Okay, come on up. All right, come on.
Good evening.
Yeah, good.
I'm Patty Phillips. I live at 1105 Blaze Street. I have been a Celebration resident for 20 years now. I'm also one of 4 coordinators for the Celebration Croquet Association. We schedule our games usually on Wednesday evenings. And I'd like to just explain a few things about us. At present, we have nearly 70 active croquet players. There's been rumors around that there's 6 guys that play over in Indigo, and we don't need any field for more people from there. We play every Wednesday afternoon. We usually have 20 to 40 people there because of people traveling. They have relatives in town. They're either with their relatives or they bring their relatives to play with us, even in the summer. We don't collect dues. We don't have a roster. We just show up and we play. It's been assumed that we play backyard croquet, which we do not. We've all played backyard croquet, where the big thing is to take your sister's ball and slam it into the road or the bushes and make her go climb and get it out. We play what is called golf croquet. It is played on a much larger field. It has 6 wickets. But we need a smooth surface. It's very easy to learn, which is why we have so many people that do play with us. You can learn it in 5 minutes. At present, we play at 2 locations. The first one is at the Windmill Restaurant. It's about 1/3 the size of the field that we need. If you hit the ball too far to the right over here, you have to move it out so you don't slam it in the gazebo. If you hit it too far this direction, you got to dive in the gully in the bushes and get your ball out. The other place we play is over at Indigo, which we've had to play a few times because the windmill was busy. Over there, we contend with weeds, we contend with lumps, we contend with the armadillo that I chased off last week. And if somebody has it on video, they're going to win $10,000 on Sunday night videos because it was pretty funny when he jumped in. When we do play over there, we have to take a bucket of dirt because we have to fill in the armadillo holes and stamp on it as we play. Neither place is ideal. It is not big enough, it's bumpy, We have a great time because you can't do anything you want to do. There are no bathrooms over there. So if we want to use a facility, we have to walk over to the Spring Park pool. So there's no bathroom facilities there.
The East Lawn Pool.
I'm sorry?
Wait,
The East
what
Lawn Pool.
I didn't hear somebody say something?
She corrected. East Lawn Pool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks we played there and the youth soccer, some of these younger soccer teams showed up. So we changed our schedule to meet their schedule. We moved ourselves in. We're trying to be good neighbors over there. Playing a site is kind of like trying to play golf where the green is 25 yards away and the green's in the rough. It's also like asking the Tampa Bay Rays to play on a T-ball court. It's not big enough. We have 70 people that want to play. Most of the time, they're sitting and waiting to play. A regular game goes for 7 points. We've cut it to 5 because we don't have time to 7. It takes too much time, and people can't play. It's a game for all ages. I played my whole life. My dad played until he was 95. What we like to do is invite the kids from summer camp to play. I'm sorry?
That's 3.
Yeah, my 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next, again, if you don't want to talk about lawn sports, correct me, but I've got Patty Match on the list. And if you would introduce yourself, your address.
I'm Patty Match. I live at 1005 Indigo. I've been a Celebration resident for 13 years, and I had noticed the croquet players, years ago. I was kind of intimidated to join, and when I, finally got the courage up to join this group, this is a wonderful group of people, and I love the game of golf croquet. It is so much fun, and everyone is so welcoming. Everyone has just been great, and I really want to shout out to the ambassadors. I mean, Dave and Patty Phillips are a great couple and great ambassadors for the sport of golf croquet. They are welcoming to all. They're so knowledgeable in the sport. They are really good with working with people and teaching them. It's just been a wonderful experience. The social group is awesome. And I hate to hear the negativity and things that I've kind of heard about croquet, but the 70 approximately people probably are in the 50 and over range, but we have had younger players. We have young adults play. I've seen the high school kids come over. So it's not necessarily just for older people, and families could play. I mean, this is a great opportunity for, others. And I just want to leave it with, if you think of the field of dreams, if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next on my list is Keith Thompson.
I'll repeat my address, Keith Thompson, 1201 Celebration Avenue. I'm English, I'm old, I play croquet and I understand croquet, I've got nothing against it. My point is, there's a survey out there of what the funds should be spent on. This board is supposed to represent all members of this community. I feel sad that I've got to come here tonight to make my voice heard because you don't read emails or anything else anymore. Not all of us can show up here. But the fact of the matter is, croquet, bocce ball were so far down the community survey that I actually think it's kind of shocking that it's even there and it's even on the agenda. We've got so many other things that we need to focus on. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's a perception, and perception is reality, as we all know, that the board don't listen and things get done behind closed doors. I've got to say, when I hear that you actually nominate members to a committee that hasn't been formed and hasn't been actioned and doesn't exist, and then you're going to choose the chair, it kind of doesn't help that perception. And I'm sure it's innocent and everything else, but I just wanted to make that point. The final thing I want to say is, I know we're not talking about Celebration Hall or whatever you want to call it. Even talking and considering Lexan is a betrayal to everybody in town centre condos, and I'm shocked that people are even thinking about putting another dime in that company's pocket, and it will end up costing every single homeowner and dues pair of celebration, an absolute fortune if you go ahead with it. Sorry if that sounded negative, but I'm here, I've said my piece.
Thank you. By the way, I've reached out to Mr. Thompson a couple of times to meet with me individually. And
Before the election.
After, but I'm glad to do it again. I'm glad to do it again. So,
okay.
Not afraid of your brogue.
Maybe that anytime, reach out, I'll meet up with you, and I'll tell you this to your face.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your comments and we listen carefully. Next on the list, Charles Richards.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
I can't speak for all the board, but I do read every email that comes to the CROA board.
We do. I do, and I answer every email that comes to the CROA board.
Okay.
Right, Lauren?
Okay. Mr. Richards.
Never hear me?
Can you come a little closer? I know you're trying to keep social distance.
No, good.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm actually reading this on behalf of my wife, who's home watching our sick boys. So I'm going to try and get my 3 minutes in. So again, this is coming from her voice. I know everyone is familiar with the adage, everything I need to know about life I learned in kindergarten. Our twin sons are heading into their end of their kindergarten year. Year one lesson they've learned is how to share. First time proof. Use the field behind Heritage Hall often. We love to run and have family races where we run the length of the field, we laugh, we make memories together. Very often other groups are out using another portion of the space. And we flex our play because we understand that being a good neighbor means sharing the space with others so everyone can have fun. The Croquet proposal would overtake more than half of this field space. There are fences to keep our children and others in the community out, guarding difficult to maintain turf from any and all other uses, even during the many hours in a day when it's not in use for croquet play. This doesn't sound like space being shared very thoroughly. The argument that it would still leave some free and open space and that we should be satisfied with that. The problem is that the amount of free and open space is what makes this space so special today. Some sports require the full length of the field. The space allows multiple groups to use the field simultaneously in a flexible way. My 3 minutes really don't provide, I'm just skip around a lot here. I really want to focus on the pieces that mean the as it exists right now, it really is just neglecting the needs of the community. There's other places where you can take croquet equipment, you can move it around, bring it to other places. Don't shut out families who use that space. It only prioritizes the needs of a very small proportion of residents. And it reaffirms what many other residents are feeling right now, that the board does not care about the needs of families who make up the majority of the town's population. My kids don't have the ability to put together a presentation or advocate for their needs and desires as residents of the community. We have to advocate for them and for the generations of families that will follow. We have to do what's best for all and demonstrate what our little ones already understand, that sharing freely with our neighbors is always best. I'll close with what my wife said. Jackson, I love the Brene Brown quote you used to sum up the board's philosophy. We're here to get it right, not to be right. Now is the time to get it right for the majority of residents and take the field behind Heritage Hall off the table for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Next name I have on my list is Mr. Tagdiri. I've got Taghdiri.
That's correct.
There you go. All right. Thank you, sir. If you would introduce yourself and your address.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pasha Tagdiri. I live over at 1226 Roycroft Avenue. I've been a resident of Celebration for about 3 years now. Moved down here because my daughter has been going to the foreign language immersion school. We moved to Celebration from Winter Park just because we love the school so much. Now we love this area. And the first time, I just recently heard about this proposal that they wanted to turn that field into a lawn sports, and I have no problem with croquet. All right, 70 people want to play croquet, that's fine. I just think you need to find a better spot to make the field. That field is open space that's for families, for the schools, for children to run around. I take my 4-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old son to that park all the time to play and run around. If you guys build this, there's going to be construction. Have you thought about how the residents are going to feel when there's construction? And when there's construction, the kids aren't going to be play on the field. And 45 to 50% is a lot of that field. You're going to use all that space to accommodate 70 people who want to play croquet. Now, I get it. The croquet lobby is probably pretty strong because they're over 55 and they have a lot of time to come out into these meetings and voice their concerns about croquet. All right. So, and I'm not trying to take any shots at them, but that's just how it is. And I just don't want that space in a time right now when there's overdevelopment everywhere. We have this space that kids can run around, schools can use. I just think you need to find a better space for croquet. It's not enough that these people just want their field. They can find another place to play. They play on the golf course already. I'm sorry it's not perfect, but they've been getting along just fine all this time. And they say, all I heard was, oh, they could come. They could come. Build it. They will come. It's not going to happen. I was a kid. We're all kids. How many people played croquet? Not a lot. You build this, there's not going to be that many kids. You're going to just have these 70 people who are mostly all over 55 play. So I strongly urge you not to do this, to take this off the table. If you go out and poll residents on this, there's going to be not that much support. You're only going to get support. Yep.
Let him speak.
All right, so let's see the polls. I'll go out door to door and I'll ask, and I'll come back with those results. It's not going to be where you think it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate it. All right, is there anyone else that wanted to speak on this issue? Yes, sir. Come on up. We're going to ask you to identify yourself. Yep.
A podium.
Sorry that we don't.
I'm sorry I broke it.
We get a table being better, you know. Okay, I don't got a chair. I'll be too awkward.
You can sit down if you want.
No, it's not me, it's my notes.
Okay.
Anyway, Joe Growney, 860 Spring Park Loop, right across from the park. Used it a lot 15 years ago. It's used a lot. My speech is not well enough because I was negative. I should have been a hell of a lot more negative after hearing this. I'll begin. I'm killing several birds on stone, so I'm going to hit a lot of bases here. I am actively opposed. I want to make sure I can be heard. Thank you. Actively opposed to the 2014 capital improvement scam, as I knew it would lead to the decline of Celebration, not its improvement. So here I am, proven correct with the example of the Croquet. An example of a ridiculous project, as opposed to the over-the-top excessively extravagant ones that have proven Celebration definitely has a lot more money than sense. Why does Spring Park exist? Why is it there? I say it's due to new urbanism. A very select move by Disney. Calling Celebration new urbanism enabled Disney to develop a very, very small lot and present them as desirable, delivering a maximum profit per acre. Instead of a large home play areas, Disney provided nearby parks and grassy areas that were to always be available, never reserved, places kids could go spontaneously.
Bill, can you stop chewing, please?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Bill.
Bill, can you stop chewing?
Okay.
For years, CROA boards have autocratically worked to unilaterally convert parks so that they can be not be available for our children, but for some special interest group. Seems too that boards are oblivious that many children live in condos and rely on the parks for their play and exercise. If CROA was ever a homeowners association, it no longer is. Since the capital improvement scam, the assemblage of people who have undefined, unlimited purview and boundless funds to pursue whatever they damn well please, while they ignore the core responsibilities, which apparently we're going to start doing now with this budget. CROA surveys are flawed. Men are they ever. They ask what we want, but never, never ask us what we are willing to give up. Of course, CROA doesn't ask us. They don't want our opinions. They want to do what they want, please. Clearly, the only place available for destination amenities is the civic corridor. The rest of Celebration needs to be perfectly maintained and neighborhood like that gentleman said. Lots of kids go. They bring their little babies out there, I mean, they're 2 years old, running all over the place. My grandson moved here because of Spring Park. My grandsons are little great athletes. They could throw a baseball from one end of that thing to the other. And if we didn't have that capability, I wouldn't be here now. because Spring Park is why I bought. If I didn't have a house right where that is, I wouldn't be here.
That's your 3 minutes, Mr. Brown.
You got me, I can believe it. I want to work on it. I'm glad you can kick me out and call the cops. Another thing here, I want to have those people tell us why the theater, Stetson, and the Antonias are vacant.
It's your 3 minutes. Anyone else that wants to speak on this discussion item? You already had your 3 minutes, Mr. Richards.
With the 3 minutes?
Yep. Anyone else want to speak? Anyone online?
Somebody's hands up.
Come on up. And identify yourself, please.
Debbie DeLosa, 415 Arbor Court.
Say it again. So
Debbie DeLosa, 415 Arbor Court. I just wanted to get up here and recognize all the people that came from Croquet. So if you guys could just all stand in support of Croquet. It is such a wonderful celebration activity. There is nothing to me that says more about celebration than playing croquet. I mean, it's just so much fun. I would invite all the people that are negative about it to come join us. Please bring your kids, bring your parents, bring everyone. It's a welcoming, easy to play, social. It has all the things about celebration that I love. So I just wanted to recognize all the support you have for croquet. And I hope that the people that are negative really come join us because we are welcoming to everyone and we really think it's a celebration kind of activity.
any other comments online? Yes, ma'am, come forward.
My name is Mary Ann Diego. I live at 911 Beak Street. What I hear from all these comments, to me, it seems like there's a big misconception that if a croquet field is built in this park, that it's going to eliminate space for all the children or many of the children in celebration. I think it's just going to do the opposite. It's actually going to invite all the children to come in and play more and participate in a sport that they've never been exposed. Why? Because we don't have such a facility in celebration. If we had that facility, children would be exposed to it. So I think to me, it looks like just a big positive. And just because croquet is in part of the field doesn't mean that they can't play in the other part of the park. There's lots of grass there for everybody. So that's my main point. And I just wanted to address that to the gentlemen that were feeling like if croquet went in, that meant that there would not be any grass area for children to come and play, throw their balls around or whatever they do all the time. There's plenty of room for all of us. And I just would like to speak for the adults in celebration, because the adults in celebration have very few space to do the things we want to do. We have soccer, we have basketball, we have beautiful soccer fields, pools and everything there for children, which is wonderful. We all want things for children. Just let us have one little thing for adults. That can also be for children. And for all the family, anybody can come out and play. So that's all I have to say. It's just, let's be a family and have something for everyone that wants to use it.
Any other comments? I want to thank all of you for speaking. I want to thank you even if you think we're horrible and corrupt and crooks. I want to thank you if you think we're doing the right thing. I want to thank you for having the courage to get up here and talk to us. It's important. And we are going to try and get it right. We are working diligently to get it right and without bias and without preconceived notions. And I know that sometimes we're so convinced in celebration that everything has got a fix in it, that everything, somebody's got a special interest and somebody's got a deal and somebody's working behind the scenes and so on. I'll just tell you, the more you get involved, the more you realize that couldn't be further from the truth. It is hard to get things done here because we work through the governance process. And the governance process is slow and it grinds and mistakes are made, and we try to find the best solutions that we can find. We will be better with all of you contributing your thoughts and suggestions, even when you're critical of us. And so there is no defensiveness of this board for those of you that disagree with the decisions that get made, one way or the other. We're going to try and do the best thing, and we'll continue to try and engage with all of you in the community. So thank you very much for that. Any other board comments on this discussion item? We're moving along. We've still got a few more things to talk about. Jim?
I don't know if it's tonight, we may not be prepared, but I'd like to give a sort of a background or a walkthrough as to why that location was chosen, just like we've done with some other.
Yeah, I don't think tonight's that night, but I certainly, we could do it. Any opportunity to create a slide deck, you know?
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. Any other comments on this?
So you don't want a quick recap of why that location was there?
I think we should move on unless you feel, I think we've heard, and I think we need to digest the comments. And
This was a table that the next meeting.
Yes, we can add that to the agenda for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I want to go back up on discussion items to item number 1, the updates for ongoing projects, the amenities inventory and quality assessment, executive summary. Lauren, I'll turn that to you.
Okay, so since the April 13th meeting, we have cleaned and stained benches at Long Meadow, Savannah Square, and Hippodrome Park. We repaired the gate at the Spring Lake Pool, ordered new safety rings for the Spring
Don't
Lake
rush through, please.
Pool. We've cleaned the Hippodrome Fountain. We've cleaned Savannah Square Park sidewalks and the exteriors. We've cleaned the pergolas at Trumpet Park, cleaned sidewalks and benches, cleaned sidewalks at Long Meadow, started the touch-up paint of Town Hall, stained benches at Central Park, cleaned and painted the exterior trash cans at Spring Park, Central Park, and painted signage. We've repaired the leaks of the roof at Town Hall. We've replaced missing umbrellas and bases at Spring Lake Pool. We've replaced the pressure release valve at Town Hall. All ice machines have been inspected and serviced at Heritage, the Sports Complex, Town Hall, and Lakeside. 2 new NEVs were purchased and received and are out actively with inspectors. We've repaired the retaining wall located next to the tennis courts. We've cleaned and flushed the drains in the parking lot of Lakeside, replaced missing trench drains, and installed new bolts. We've replaced broken, damaged drainage, at the inside pool deck of Lakeside and installed a guard. We've initiated RFPs for the Parkview roofing and painting of Charleston Place. We just pulled the Long Meadow Spring Park Playground replacement bids for a last minute bid that came in for the board to review.
You're not going to read all that, are you?
No,
Okay.
and we have a laundry list of scheduled work to take place moving forward, and the items that were just approved at this meeting will be scheduled shortly. Those vendors will be notified tomorrow.
Let me also say that Town Hall sent out an email last week, I believe, identifying what was in a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day. It's a long list. It's a long list because there was a lot of work to be done. It's a long list because this board approved the spending to do that work. It's a long list because nothing's been done for a very long time. So job number 1 is go fast and fix stuff. That's what you're seeing. That's what we're doing. Questions or comments from the board? Cindy?
Again, I just love this. We have a list of, things that are coming up like in the next month and beyond that, blah, blah, blah. One thing I noticed that's missing, because I did go through this and I could have missed it. These chairs here really, really, really need to be replaced.
They're down on the list. I think they're in the 120 category.
Can we move it up to the top of the list? I mean, if we're not gonna get new lawn furniture at one of the pools. I was at CCDD meeting last night and their chairs are very comfortable. They're not cushioned.
They're nicer than ours?
They're really nice, right, Jim?
Well, that's unacceptable.
They are more comfortable.
Can we bounce it up to the top?
We have to buy a new.
Right.
Can we talk to the president?
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, and another thing,
Yes, ma'am.
can we get a new podium?
Yeah, I think we should. I'm sorry for those of you that had to stand here without a podium tonight.
One's on order.
Okay.
Let's let management please keep with its list. If we start becoming guilty of moving things up and down, we're going to get accused of bias. Let's execute the plan.
Brian, it's not biased. These chairs, every
All
one
right,
of
all
them.
right, I got it, we got it. What else? Any other comments about?
And this is how we
Bias on chairs.
work things out behind the scenes, in case you're wondering.
And I just want to say thank you, Lauren, because I could rip up all those pictures that I had developed. Because you just went through every single thing that I bought, and Natalie found things that we didn't even know existed in our community. So kudos to Natalie.
All right, anything else there? Thank you very much for that. And we'll continue to keep the community updated on the improvements and the work that's being done. Let me, sir, you want to speak to that discussion item?
May I?
Come on up. Introduce yourself and you get 3 minutes.
Okay, Armand on 930 Potsdam Road. I'm just calling about, I'm talking about the park. You call it Central Park. Really hate that name because people take their dogs, they never clean up. But it's half dirt, half grass. The kids can't even play on it right now. What is going on with that park?
So when Yellowstone originally replaced the sod, they put in the wrong sod. We
Okay.
notified them that day that it was the incorrect sod.
Right,
They are replacing it at their own expense.
right.
In the meantime, they were supposed to leave most of the sod there, but we authorized them to move some of it to other locations that desperately needed work as well. It's coming, it's just
taking time.
It's just
'cause been
taking
almost
time.
3 weeks that park's just been in disarray. I mean, it's horrible. Now, the other thing is it possible to either remove or move the Central Park standard? Because I've had kids playing in there and a couple of them have ran into it. It's like right where in the big main park where they're playing.
I can look at that. for
Yeah, if you
safety
could look at that, I
concerns.
appreciate that. And then also the swing. What's going on with the swing? It's been like 4 months since that swing's been.
So what I'm going to ask you to do, since these are very detailed questions, is to get with Lauren directly and her staff and work through them rather than us taking time tonight. Is that okay? Is that fair enough?
Perfect.
Thanks for telling us.
All right, thank you.
All right. Anything else for the management update? All right, next item on the discussion is briefing on the Lot D design work. Lauren, is that you?
Yes, we are in a little bit of a pause because we have, KPMF is having vendor scheduling issues, which is also hindering our kickoff call with the pickleball task force individuals in terms of timing. So as soon as she's on that, then I will update everybody.
Okay, I'm going to ask that you all, we can hear everything you're saying back there. Dave? Thanks. Okay. All right. Any comments or questions from the board about that work? All right. Next item is the ARC inspection plan. You heard us talk a little bit earlier about inspections and the importance of inspections. This is where literally the rubber meets the road. We've hired a new community standards manager. Lorraine is here tonight. She's down at the end. And sometimes when we ask a new staff member to speak, they get a little nervous. So Lorraine, it's okay. You've heard what they say about us. It'll be much easier for you. And what we want to do tonight, I know that you have some comments and thoughts about an inspection plan. Make sure you got the mic up close, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Yes. So what does an inspector do? I came in with a different background and I realized that it seemed that there was a negativity to inspectors when that shouldn't be. We want to continue to make Celebration the amazing place that it is. Can we go to the next slide? And so I broke down the process of what the inspector actually does. We are vital to the HOA to uphold the community standards. Then we have fines, violations that inspectors must have knowledge of the governing documents, the bylaws, as well as the ARC guidelines. It's not a personal thing. We didn't choose your home specifically. We have a goal to hit every single home, every single quarter, so that the value of your homes remain as they are, if not better. We document these violations, properly detailed documentation and photos. Those are very critical for history for later on when we're having to go back to these photos for our records. We research archives and ARC applications. We submit violations and we re-inspect the original violations. It's important that residents are in communication with us. You know, when you receive your first letter, to tell us what your process is so that we can document properly. Again, we're always willing to work with the residents, and it's just about communicating with each other. Can we go to the next slide? In addition to inspections, our inspectors have to deal with complaints. So as they're coming in, the more detailed, the better. I hate the word complaints, but that's what they're called. I find it that all residents are just as important and vital to celebration. So your concerns are important to my department. Being detailed as to, you know, what sprinkler head is broken so that we don't waste time searching for it and we can get to what you're wanting us to put attention to. We also do ARC inspections. When you're submitting an ARC application, being as detailed as possible so that our ARC committee can truly get you the answers that you need instead of wasting time. And then resales, again, it is part of the inspector's responsibility, and there's a lot more that an inspector has to do. So when they're out there inspecting our beautiful community, it is for the best interest of celebration. And so I hope that we will turn the misconception of what my team is here to do, and our residents start to realize that we are here to help you guys, to see what residents are missing, because naturally, when you pass by something every single day, you may miss it. That's what we're here for, to point it out, remind you that it needs to get fixed, and hopefully improve how celebration looks.
And Lorraine, I want to go ahead and move to the next slide because I'm that guy that makes it go fast.
No problem.
And I want to get to the specifics of what the inspection plan is, because I think that's what's interesting. Let me just summarize a couple of things here and then you can get to the details.
Yeah.
We have 3 inspectors that we are hiring, and you have identified the tasks and the start dates for each. One is in place, one starts on the 25th, which I think was 2 days ago.
This week.
Yeah, and a third will start on May 2nd, and each of them has a specific area of responsibility, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, your goal is to inspect each village quarterly, is that right? Okay.
Every home within that village.
Okay, and that's a minimum of how many initial inspections?
960.
And are these inspections? Barbara Church is trying to call you, Mr. Metbinder. And so the 960 that we're doing, is that a top to bottom inspection of the property?
It is.
It is. It's a complete inspection. And that means 320 monthly inspections per inspector. What does that work out to per day?
Approximately 20 inspections per inspector per day.
And does that include the time then to go back and submit and do all the paperwork behind it?
It is, but that will also mean we need residents to assist us. You know, if you get the first letter stating, hey, we need you to complete this task, you allow us to re-inspect it and not have to go back 3 and 4 times and move on to the next home.
Right. So let's just say something that we rarely say out loud. It's on us to keep our properties looking good. It's not on the inspectors or management. But if my home is not looking good, that's on me. And that is a primary responsibility that we all agreed to when we signed the documents and got the thumb drive, or some of us way back when, right, Cindy, when we got the big, thick book. And that's the rules of the game. I think that there's probably been a period of time in which we played too many games with inspections, where residents thought, I'll game the system, I just don't have the time or the energy or the money to do the work, and I'll let it go. And because of COVID and other things, it just started to deteriorate. And that hurts our home values. I mean, we've got a realtor in the audience here tonight, Kathy Carlson. I think she can tell you that it's hard to sell a home when the home next door is in shambles. And this community needs to be pristine. And that's what we signed up for. That's what we all agreed to. We have a very dedicated covenants and ARC committee volunteers. We have a dedicated staff, but we have to do our part. And so often, I think we on the board here often hear, well, I know I did it wrong, but what about, it's that Keith Thompson guy. It's his house that's messy. I'm just kidding. But that's what happens. And we get into that finger pointing, but ultimately it's our responsibility. So I hope that we will work with the inspection plan. You see that we are being very aggressive, but as we spend money on maintenance and landscaping and repairs, as owners, it's time to clean up your act. Cindy talks about sometimes, what was it called? The green up, clean up?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, right? Get together with your neighbors, get together and talk about how you make your neighborhood look the best that it possibly can. Of course, nothing looks as good as Artisan, but you know that. I think that ultimately, if we're going to make progress here, everybody has to pitch in and do the work together. So board comments? Thank you, Lori. Board comments, questions?
Jackson?
Yes.
Jackson, this is David. Yeah, this is something that I think many of us have talked about, just what you just said. The responsibility is really on us as homeowners. And that's what, as you said, that's what we signed up for, but it's also what attracted us when we first came to this community for whenever the first time was. And I think that when the inspection happens, that's a reminder that, oops, I missed something, or I'm sorry. But really, we all take, most of us take pride in our homes. There's a few that appear not to hold up to that same standard. So thank you for reinforcing that, and thank you for the new staff that's on board and coming on board to address this.
All right, any other comments?
Can I ask one
You gotta come up.
I'll hobble up quickly with my bad knee. I think that's great, and I think nobody would disagree with that. Consistency is key across the inspectors and across the properties. The other thing is, and again, I haven't suffered this, but everything that I hear is it's about the approval process for Ring doorbells, security cameras. Can we put the same focus on that approval process as well? Because then I think the whole thing goes together.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
and I agree.
Thanks. And that is being worked on, and we are streamlining those processes. Come on up, sir. Tell us who you are.
Hello, Daniel Lagello, 1221 Celebration Avenue, Unit 103. I just wanted to say one quick thing. Depending on sometimes people buy the house. One broker that I ran into tells people that only the original homeowner has to follow the covenants.
Really?
So when people say to you, they're confused, they are confused. And, you hear these crazy things, but I spoke to the broker and he was explaining to me a lot of weird things. They're all not like Miss Paulson, right? So
yeah,
I'm just saying, when you hear these strange things from people, don't think they're just coming out of left field. The brokers are telling them whatever they can tell them to get them to the place to.
And we're all audio animatronics, and Disney owns the land. Okay, anything else? All right. With that, thank you again. Appreciate that. We are at that point in the evening of board comments. Let me start with Mr. Kensel.
One comment I would like to make is that the reserve study has been being done. Bill Grindell has been taking some of the lead in reviewing it with members of management, but we'll certainly have impacts that the finance committee and board will need to look at. It'll be one more of those budget items as we roll forward in this inflationary environment. Just a heads up for everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. First, thanks to the board and thank you, Jackson, for leading a very efficient meeting on a 4-page agenda. Thank you for being so timely. Second, just as a follow-up, I know this was in my board comments last time, and it's in the minutes. I'll ask next time just to review some of those items, particularly with the new staff coming on, so we can get some regular reporting. What's the status of those things that were reported through CROA or online with residential properties? What's the status of those? And some of the other questions that I raised, taking out the last one, which is really CROA. And third, I look forward to the 2 groups starting next week the two advisory bodies. I think that's going to be very, very helpful. I know we're on a fast timeline with them, lots of work and lots of opportunities ahead. So thank you to all who have volunteered for that, and then to the larger community for participation as those groups move forward.
Yeah, and I want to thank Brian and David for doing this remotely. It's very challenging to do these meetings remotely, and we appreciate your input.
Well, Brian had dinner, we didn't.
Is that what happened?
That's true.
Mr. Hayes.
I'm going to address something that is out there in terms of like, this is the same, literally the same board almost that we had last year. Five of the members are the same. I agree with that. But the dynamics when new people come in to a group change. And I think those of you who saw last year's board and you look at this year's board see a different dynamics. And it's not because we all agree. It's because we're committed to have the same North Star, which is it better for Celebration? You know, maybe from an income perspective, I wish we did have special interest groups that lobbied and gave us donations, but they don't, right? People talk, but we all talk and we challenge each other. And we want things to be fact-based, and we want people to know why we're making the decisions. And so to me, this is a different board. And so I would ask that the critics of the last board, please give us the benefit of the doubt, listen to what we're doing, and that's all.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Nice
Mr. Grindle.
I'm at a complete loss of comments.
Okay, fair enough. Mrs. McFadden. Hey.
It's your turn. Oh, really?
Yeah, you're on.
I think that was well said, Jim. That was very well said. I think we're a good group this year, and we want the best for Celebration. We want to enhance our amenities, and we may not all agree on where things should go, but we have to all live here, and we all have to remember, I've been trying to get a baseball field in Celebration since I moved here, and I still don't have a baseball field, but we have to move forward and know what's right for the community, and I think we're doing the best we can.
Thank you. Mrs. Swisher.
Hi. So I'm going to, I'd like to make a request on behalf of the Covenants Committee to ARC. They're seeing a lot of violations. People who have porches that have, stairs going down the porches, of course, are putting little fences either to keep their pets on the porch with them or their children from falling down the stairs. We would like the ARC committee to look at some kind of standards for those because, all kinds of things are getting put up there and they see a lot of it. So they would request that you work on a standard for those gates that block off the porches from the stairs.
All right, I know this will stun you. I have a couple of comments. The first is the word velocity. We are working at a high rate of speed. We're asking a ton of management. These folks are brand new to Celebration. They are new to their jobs, and we're asking them to go at warp speed, faster than I can ever remember us asking management to work, because we have to. So in velocity, there will be mistakes. There will be things that happen. And I would ask you to extend three things to them. The first is non-judgment. Let's talk about how we feel without judgment. We can ask each other for help without judgment. We just need help sometimes. We need to do that. And generosity. We can extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, the words, and the actions of others. Couldn't we just do that? Wouldn't that be refreshing for all of us in this community to be able to do that? And then finally, integrity. Choose courage over comfort. Choose what's right over what's fun or fast or easy, and choose to practice our values rather than simply professing them. I know that that's what members of this community have done for more than 2 decades. I believe we can continue to do it. When we make mistakes, we own them, we apologize, and we make amends. What we try to do is to be reliable, to do what we say we'll do. That's why we're giving you this information and why we're trying to act in this setting. And then finally, I think is we are willing as a board to learn and to grow. I've heard comments tonight about Lexan and about doing business with Lexan. I just want to say that as we go through this process, let's try to extend those qualities to them as a potential business partner and see what happens. Let's see where we end up. Let's see what the advisory groups tell us, what finance tells us, what the experts, engineers, and architects tell us that management is putting together. I believe in the process. We have done good process in the work that we have done. The board before us did good process. We are learning to communicate that process more effectively, and we are relying on you as a community to help hold us to that standard. I appreciate so much that we have so many of you here tonight, whether you agreed or disagreed with what we were doing. It is, I think, exciting. I like it. I miss the days of having those big rooms. So I'm excited for that.
I'm gonna say one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Just in case anybody that's out there would like to come to Heritage and visually see where the croquet lawns may be placed, I'm more than happy to meet with anybody. I've met with 2 residents so far, and they were like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay. So if anybody's, I'm willing to meet anybody out there.
Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much for being here. Brian and David, thank you.
Thank you.